I guess I will start this maybe by just giving a brief introduction of everyone here on the panel. I'll start with myself. My name is Walter Palma. I'm an investment director at Caixa Capital. We currently are probably one of the largest VCs in the Portuguese market, our friends from Portugal Ventures. And currently we are happy supporters of Beta I and the Lisbon Challenge. So I take great pleasure in being here to help moderate today's panel. So I'll probably pass on first, starting with you, Antonio.
Yeah, sure. I think most of you already know me. Still, I'm going to present myself. I'm Antonio Carvalho. I'm currently investment director of the Travel and Leisure Tech Business Unit at Portugal Ventures.
Hello everyone, my name is Susanna Chu. I'm the head of Amadeus Ventures, which is a startup investment program of the Amadeus IT Group, which is a leader in travel technology in the world.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Hugo Pereira. I'm one of the founding partners of Shilling Capital Partners. Shilling is a business angel vehicle that invests in Portuguese startups at the seed stage.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mário Ferreira. I more known as President and CEO of a tourism company in Portugal, but also we have a small fund to invest in startup companies, and we're using that through a well-known program in the United States called Shark Tank. We also have that in Portugal, and it's been a good publicity to get access to ideas and good startups.
Okay, great. Well, like I said, today's panel is about supporting growth amongst tourism startups. And I think we have a great selection here of investors, and I'm sure we have a lot of startups that are interested in hearing what you all have to say. So I guess I'll start off just in terms of on the topic. I guess maybe starting with we'll pass it on. Let's start. I guess starting with the investment. I guess, in your opinion, I mean, what makes investment in the tourism sector, especially from a technology perspective? Because I think most of the startups we have here are technologically based. I mean, some of them obviously we heard a great talk from time out. Not so much technology, more sort of a food business itself. But I guess a lot of them are technology based. What makes it different from other sectors?
So, well, first of all, just to clarify, I look at this sector in a broad sense. So when I mean this sector, so it includes things like food, like we've had a company called Best Tables, which was doing reservations. We could look at it from a student perspective. So in the broad sense, tourism could encompass all that. And to your point, I would say that investors have a sort of a love-hate relationship with this sector. Love-hate in the sense that it is a very big sector. It usually includes very large markets that are very appealing. Obviously, it's one of the factors that investors look to. But on the other hand, it's very fragmented. So whenever someone comes to me, usually the idea is very interesting. But then when we start drilling down into how do you actually capture that idea, that's when things start getting difficult, because you have to sell to a lot of small businesses, even if you're a technology company, or you have to capture a lot of fragmented customers. And so that's the difficulty we've seen and we've felt in our businesses, is the scalability part of it. So I think you have to mix a big market with a smart way to get to it, and which is usually not that easy to reach.
How about you, Antonio? What do you think?
I think nowadays, when you look at the startup industry, I think two major segments come on top of mind. It's basically shared economy and big data. And I think the travel and leisure business, they are very strong in those two components. If you look at last year's market, the largest transactions were related especially to the shared economy side of this trend. Just look at Airbnb or Uber. So I think we're very lucky to be investing in a sector that actually incorporates two of the major strands of the travel of the startup business in the world. So I think one of the biggest problems now talking about locally about Portugal and about Portugal Ventures is to give you some feedback about my personal experience is how you innovate and scale fast enough to kind of overcome other competitors in the world. So what I think that all of you should bear in mind when looking at a potential idea that you are just trying to implement is how disruptive it is in the market. And please think why other players in the market in the same industry didn't think about that before. It doesn't mean that it's not a good idea, that it's not excellent. Just at least drill down all the elements that kind of make you be sure that there's a market for it, despite others didn't invest.
I don't know if you want to contribute, but I think we're seeing some very interesting topics here in terms of characteristics of the tourism market or the tourism sector from a startup, I guess a startup entrepreneur's point of view, which is we've talked about segmentation, fragmentation. We mentioned that the fragmentation is a problem. This ties then into the scalability issue, which I think also as well. And I think there's also local. I think a lot of tourism can be both local and global. It's global in the sense obviously it's to a certain degree it's an export business, but it's very local in terms of the service provision as well. So I don't know, Susanna, maybe you might want to give your perspectives on that.
Absolutely. Nowadays we see pretty much the same thing. We recognize that content fragmentation is a huge challenge for the travel industry. How can we join the dots of linking an end-to-end journey and make it as painless as possible? This is one of the key focus of on innovation within nowadays. We regularly talk about that topic. And at the same time, there's scalability. So I think scale a travel business is what a GDS or Amadeus is good at. Because we have access to more than 100,000 travel agencies around the world. Most of the major airlines around the world work with us, and hotel chains. We are the scaling answer, like to some of the startups. So in your mind, when you need to scale internationally, a partner like us is very useful. And increasingly, we see ourselves playing that role. We co-invest with financial investors. In our portfolio companies, we've made 6 investments already. I'm closing the 7th before the end of the year. And so if you have a very innovative idea in travel and you actually can prove that in a small scale basis that it's going to work, and our responsibility is to help you to scale. So that is how we see the collaboration can happen between startups and corporations.
Great. I guess I'll probably have to ask Mario, since he's worn both hats. He's been both entrepreneur and investor. I guess, what do you think it takes to succeed as an investor in the tourism sector? What do you see the key characteristics and challenges that the investor has to face when dealing in this sector?
Let's see if I can answer to that, and getting it from the initial perspective on your first question and combine both of them.
No problem.
If you don't mind, because I had something to say regarding that as well. Because I was here this morning listening with a lot of attention to the startups that came here. And personally, as an investor, as a hotelier, as a lot of different areas, because we have helicopters, boats and hotels, we have a lot of different things. I do not think, and I do not agree that most of these startups need to look at a huge scale worldwide. I don't think they will survive through that. They're not prepared for that yet. And most of them will not succeed, but that's expected. They will succeed probably in their next try. What I think they should aim at, and that's probably what is very interesting for them, is being different and creating differentiation among the players. For example, we were discussing this morning among some of our friends in here, that just for Porto region, let's say not even for Porto, but just for the Porto city, there are 30 hotels expected to be approved at the city hall. So the mayor has the challenge of saying, shall I approve 30 new hotels? They are on the pipeline. And I think he should. But what's going to be important is that companies like yours will convince some of these entrepreneurs and these players that most of them, if possible, each one of them is different from the other. And they have a touch of innovation in many different areas. And that's where we need your help, the help to grow. And your help is important to create new ideas that will capture different markets or go into the same market with different approaches and create differentiation. And I think that's the secret for your company, the secret for a lot of us in the tourism industry, is that we can compete or we can position ourselves within the same market and be different. And then we can target different niches within different nationalities, and then yes, we will bring a technology worldwide and it will repeat itself. That's, I think, what's important. And of course, going now to the second part of the question, an entrepreneur and an investor in tourism, especially in a small country like ours in Portugal, the market is very small. It's probably the same for a lot of industries, but especially for tourism, we have to look into the international market. And look in the international market, we have to be updated and we have to be innovative in different areas. It can be systems, it can be models of action, it can be management, it can be service, it can be in different areas, but we always have to update ourselves and be on top of the wave. And that's why we need your help, and that's why I go to these things as much as I can, see what can we use to be ahead of everybody else. Thank you.
Okay. I guess that sort of raises the theme. I mean, would you say that most, I guess, tourism-based businesses are inherently local, looking for an international opportunity, or are they more international and then have to be applied locally? Maybe it's sort of feeding on what you were saying right now.
On our case, we started in 1993. We are almost 23 years old company, and we export 98%, meaning 98% of our guests come from abroad. Our main source is United States, then England and Germany, Switzerland. So we aim directly our product when we started with a product nobody believed in, which is river cruising in Portugal. It's a very high end of the market product, but nobody believed in it. It started from the banks that never wanted to finance it, they didn't believe in it, and even the local players did not believe in it. Only after 15 years of being this business, yes, they said, oh, what a great idea. It was good for me that I was able to place myself in good position and get most of the nice dogs, which is good today.
How about you, Susan? Do you think there's any special knowledge, skills, or information, I guess in this case Amadeus is an information company, that I think somebody entering in the tourism sector gives them a sort of advantage? What do you think is critical? What skill should an investor looking at a startup should he have beforehand before going into looking at startups, tourism startups as an investment option?
Right. I think it is not very different from like startups in the other industries or other sectors. I've invested in companies that have founders like that had never worked in travel before. So sometimes people think that travel startups, that you need to be somewhere in between helping a travel agency or to be the next competitor of Expedia or Booking.com, and that is actually a very risky strategy. We also look at data analytics company, big data, like how can we use data to help online merchants, so in this case online travel agencies or hotel booking websites, to be able to convert better. So use of data analytics, that's horizontal. Payments technology is another very big pain point on doing e-commerce. how can we make that payment process smoother? So in a way, travel e-commerce actually touches on a lot of the technology topics that can be quite scalable. I invested in a company based in San Francisco, like that they have developed an algorithm on personalization for travel. And his first customers are like an OTA in India and another one in Spain. So those technologies goes across border very quickly.
How about you, Tony? What do you think? I guess, what do you look for when you're looking at an opportunity for your area?
Yeah, just
What are
complementing what Susanna said. The companies we invested in, most of them, the teams didn't have specific expertise in travel. Basically, we are also lucky to be in an industry that most of the individuals they have a feeling for it because they, at a certain moment in their lives, they, as a customer or as a user, they live the experience. So there's no, I would say, there's no entry barriers in terms of team skills for a startup in this sector. What you probably will need at a later stage is someone that will guide you and open some doors in terms of partnership or customer acquisition, but that's it at a later stage, not probably required at the seed stage level. I don't know if this answers your question, Walter, or if you...
the way answers? How about you? Any perspectives on that? I mean, if you're looking at the tourism startups that pass through your hands, what do you look for in them in terms of seeing whether there's a good opportunity or not?
Well, first of all, team. Again, I think team is a pervasive topic amongst all startups, tourism or non-tourism, because at the end of the day, most of the business models have to change throughout the first few years of life of a company. And so if you can't adapt to change, you basically will not succeed. And so I think having a great team will help you in any type of startup. And then within the tourism industry itself, I think large markets and easy ways to address them. So I'll just give you an example. So one of let's take Uniplace is a company that is, as I said, in a broad sense, tourism in the student accommodation sector. And if you think that you need to scale a business by setting up an office in each country with a sales team, with a customer service team, that will slow you down in terms of growth, which is one of the key factors that we look for in terms of getting ahead of competition. If you can actually implement your business model from a central location and capture your customers and your in this case landlords from remotely, that will have a business model which is much more scalable and much faster in terms of adoption. So we look for those models, which sometimes is difficult in the tourism industry. When I look to companies like, we have one who's called Guest Centric, which is a reservation system for hotels. And they have to knock on each hotel's door, and it's a hard sell in the sense that it's a systems business. They have to convince them that they should adopt their system. And so I think you really need to think about, what product are you selling and how can you sell it? Is it going to take 3 meetings face to face to actually sell your solution, and how much value is in that solution? Because if the value is low and it's a difficult long sales cycle, then you're dead basically. So you either have a high value product with high margins, and then you can afford to sell slowly, or a very easy to sell, and you can sell not face to face but in a digital way. So I think those are the key points.
Okay. I guess my next question is sort of looking at the flip side of things. Because obviously the question, the topic here is the importance of strong supporters, right? So what as an entrepreneur should they be looking for in an investor? If you're a tourism-based entrepreneur, what do you think are what are the right characteristics that they should be looking for in an investor? Who's going to help them grow? Who's going to bring the right networks? What are your views on that? In terms of...
That is an easy question for me, so I'll take it first. I think that is exactly how we differentiate like from a pure financial VC, so being the investment program of a corporation. So other than the money, actually myself and my team, we dedicate more than half of our time to help our portfolio companies to work with the Amadeus internal solutions team. So with the objective of having a pilot with our customer, a pilot with our own solutions that we can co-sell together. So it is about like collaborations and how we actually can do something together, like a bigger company with a network of customers and smaller company with a good idea, and be able to benefit from that relationship. So that is what we are really focusing on with the program.
I guess, Mara, you should have some nice perspectives on that, given that the sharks are always trying to prove themselves before the entrepreneurs they like.
Not the case. Actually, we would love to have entrepreneurs that actually take the lead, and that's what we're looking for. Unfortunately, we do not always find that. Now, a lot of the startups, for example, the ones I invested with about 14 different companies, I can give you some statistics, but at least 60% of them, they were not entrepreneurs. And that is a problem when that happens, because then they expect you to take the lead way, which is totally wrong. That's not what we're looking for. And they ask, oh, what shall I do? What can I do? We invested in you expecting that you knew what you were doing and you want to have the energy to take the lead. And when we find the ones that actually take the lead, then what we realize, and we have fantastic cases on that situation, is, I give you a practical example. I always like to talk about practical examples because it's easier. We have two brothers that they have a success story on schools, young kids, pre-official school, and they have 100% occupancy, and then what they want to do is to replicate their format. So all we have to do is, what we like to do on our startups is to come in, and we have a management team that set up, teach them how to have a budget prepared for that, how to see future expenses and cost control. Sometimes these entrepreneurs are so driven into success and do their own thing that they forget they weren't taking a wage. They don't realize they were not getting paid for what they were doing. And a lot of them said, oh, how much do you make? Oh, I don't need to make anything. It's my business here, but now we get in. You need to make something, you need a wage. So as simple as this, we find a lot of those. And what we do is give them guidance in terms of new techniques and to make sure that they are very accurate with their budget and in terms of budget discipline, and use our network of contacts and a lot of cross-selling, because a lot of these small companies have synergies among each other, and that's what we do.
I guess I was having this discussion with Google at lunch, which is the whole thing of metrics. I mean, how important is it for, like, I mean, I guess for all entrepreneurs, but I guess in terms, how important do you see metrics in terms of keeping good records, of knowing what your business is doing in terms of running the business, I guess?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the flaws of most entrepreneurs, in the sense that most of them do not come from a financial background, and we come from a financial background, and so there's this tension that we want numbers and they want to sell us vision. So it's difficult to fit those two together. And so it's very rare to actually find entrepreneurs who can actually tell you right from the start that we want to have X number of customer acquisition cost, and we're going to spend this much here and this much there, and if this channel doesn't work, we're going to switch to that one. So I think it's a challenge, and I think there should be more emphasis even on accelerators that tend to put a very nice pitch together, but on giving some training on that. So because that's, at the end of the day, that's what investors who are putting their money are going to want to see. And so I'm now going to talk about the business angel, which, so we come at the beginning of the stage. So we're used to seeing just the pitch, the nice vision, etc. But the next level up, we'll already want to see some numbers, and the next level up, more numbers. And so as you go on, it becomes a very hard sort of strict business. And so you need to know how to get there right from the beginning. Else the vision can't feed you throughout 3 rounds of funding. And just to your other question, which is what should they look for as investors? I can talk from the business angel segment, which is, it's a very personal relationship. So I think you need to find, as entrepreneurs, someone you can relate to, someone you have empathy with, because at the end of the day, you can be a very good entrepreneur, but if you don't get along with your investor, you're going to be having fights all day long. He wants to go left, he wants to go right, and so you don't need someone who always agrees with you, but you need someone with whom you can discuss the challenges of your business and have a good way of trashing out the problems and moving on. And so at the end of the day, it's a very personal relationship, and so someone you can trust, obviously with connections, everything, but it's not so much a sort of a brand, like, oh, I'm going to get this brand of VC, which is very well known. It's more, at this initial stage, it's more of a personal thing.
I always like to say that the role of the venture capitalist is to help transform the startup into a company, right? I think that's more or less, I think that's all. I guess you want to sort of maybe a final remark on this. I mean, do you feel that the venture capitalist has an important role to play in sort of the financial education of the entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially at the seed stage, that it's where Portugal Ventures is investing at the moment. We're talking about most of the cases entrepreneurs that are launching their first project in their life. So basically, what we do is coaching all the time for people that obviously most of them, they don't have a financial background like us. So they don't know how to run a company, they don't know even to deal with all the bureaucracy that has to be done inside the company, dealing with the shareholders meetings, with the reporting to every stakeholders. So there's this coaching part that obviously it's very important, and that we think we can give a good help. But of course, we also know and we are aware that on a second stage, I mean, when you're trying to reach a Series A, what the entrepreneurs are expecting from a VC, it's already something a bit different, of course. Then you already have some market that has been open. So then the networking, the capability of acquiring new customers, creating a relationship with the potential partners, that becomes very, very important. And I think what the VC in the seed stage has to be conscious about is if it doesn't have those skills inside the house, then what he should do is try to help the team and the initial entrepreneurs to find the right VC for a Series A. But I think what they should aim for is different accordingly to the round of equity that they are raising. They should look for different things if it's a seed capital round or if it's a Series A or a Series B.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think this was an interesting talk. Hopefully, like I said, some of us will be around, so if any of you have any questions, feel free to come talk to us. And have a great rest of Tourism Day.